Welcome to the channel. In this video, we're analyzing the idea of free speech within the context of current events. Using the framework of 5 universal critical thinking questions, our goal is to gain a better understanding and draw a conclusion about the state of free speech in the world today. In the modern world, the concept of free speech is more important than ever, especially with the rise of social media and its impact on our lives. So let's jump in with the first key question in our analysis. Question 1. What are the key facts and assumptions? Fact. Social media is used for promoting political campaigns, activism, and exposing wrongdoing. Fact. Social media can also contribute to the spread of misinformation, propaganda, and hate speech. Assumption. The regulation of social media is a complex and debated issue. Assumption. People's views on free speech are shaped by their diverse backgrounds, experiences, and values. Question 2. What evidence supports or refutes these facts and assumptions? Fact. Social media is used for promoting political campaigns, activism, and exposing wrongdoing. No one could plausibly deny that social media has contributed to the advancement of political and social movements around the world, as well as the exposure of high-level political and commercial misdeeds. We only need to look to the political campaigns of Donald Trump, the Arab Spring protests in the Middle East, as well as the Me Too and Black Lives Matter movements, which have erupted globally. The impact of these events would undeniably have been much less significant had social media not had its part to play. Fact. Social media can also contribute to the spread of misinformation, propaganda, and hate speech. On the flip side, though, social media can also be a bit of a double-edged sword. It's been provably responsible for spreading misinformation, propaganda, and hate speech, like those COVID-19 conspiracy theories, fake news, and violent extremist content. Unfortunately, we don't need to look too far on social media to find lots of examples of all of that. Certain members of the US Congress have unfortunately decided to use both Twitter and the House floor as a forum for unsubstantiated and angry speech that serves no purpose other than to divide the population and to stoke the most unfounded fears of their base. Assumption. The regulation of social media is a complex and debated issue. The regulation of social media is not an easy task. People have lots of different opinions. Some folks argue for preventing hate speech and protecting vulnerable populations, while others insist on preserving free speech rights regardless of the costs. And don't forget, regulating a global and diverse online environment is not exactly a walk in the park. Assumption. People's views on free speech are shaped by their diverse backgrounds, experiences, and values. One thing we can't forget is that everyone's views on free speech are cast in the mold of their unique lives. Every human has a different way of seeing and processing the world, and the information that we come into contact with. It's no surprise, then, that there's a wide range of opinions on free speech and social media, with various cultural, societal, and individual factors influencing how people perceive and value freedom of expression. Now let's look at question 3. What are the possible consequences or implications of each fact or assumption? Fact. Social media is used for good things. When social media is used for things like promoting political campaigns and public activism, it can make a significant difference to the outcome. It raises awareness of social and political issues, opens up opportunities for civic engagement, and gives marginalized voices a platform to share their experiences and advocate for change. Fact. Social media is used for bad things. Unfortunately, the flip side of social media is that it can spread misinformation, propaganda, and hate speech. This can lead to poor decision-making, increased polarization, eroded trust in institutions, and even harm to public health and safety when false information is accepted as truth. Assumption. Regulations are difficult. When considering regulating social media, as always, it's not black and white. Efforts to regulate will usually have both positive and negative outcomes, like better protection against harmful content, but also potential infringement on free speech rights. And let's not forget how tricky it can be to enforce regulations across different jurisdictions and platforms. Assumption. People are different. The fact that people's views on free speech are molded by their unique experiences can be both a strength and a challenge. On one hand, it leads to more robust and inclusive public discourse. On the other hand, it can make finding consensus on issues related to free speech, like social media regulation and the limits of acceptable expression, pretty tough. Question 4. Are there any alternative explanations or interpretations? Social media is used for good things. The other side of this argument says that while social media platforms amplify positive movements, they might just as easily enable the rise and spread of extremist movements and ideologies. Social media is used for bad things. Another important thing to consider is that these negative aspects of social media could potentially be mitigated. Things like education, digital literacy programs, and promoting a culture of critical thinking, particularly in young people, could be used in place of relying solely on regulation. Regulations are difficult. One thing to consider here is that the debate has the potential to be influenced by various stakeholders with different motivation. Well-placed people with political, economic, or ideological interests could impact the direction and nature of any proposed regulation. People come from vastly different places. One way to look at this is that these differences can actually be embraced as an opportunity to foster dialogue, understanding, and collaboration between various groups, rather than viewing them as a source of division or conflict. Question 5. What conclusions can we draw from the analysis of these facts and assumptions? So, our conclusion starts with the obvious opinion that social media clearly has a significant impact on various important aspects of society. While it has the potential to empower and connect people, it can also be a breeding ground for great division. The complexity of social media regulation and the diverse views on free speech found globally makes it challenging to find a one-size-fits-all solution. To navigate these intricacies, it's essential for both governments and individuals to have open, respectful, and constructive conversations, considering a wide range of perspectives and potential consequences. In doing so, we can strive for a balanced approach to social media regulation that upholds the values of free speech while mitigating its potential harms. To sum up, the state of free speech in the world today is nuanced. It requires continuous dialogue and thoughtful consideration of various perspectives and potential outcomes to ensure a balanced approach that respects individual rights while protecting society from harm. Human life, particularly democratic life, is messy and complicated. Navigating it requires tools that can sort and make sense of just some of the fire hose of information that we get daily. Free speech, like all tools, is a tool that can be used to hurt or to uplift. It's up to us, using critical thinking, to decide how best to use it.